Bakit ito siya nga yung ang sikat mo ko? Kasi kung nag
The first light of day crept over Tieu Diep's modest farmland, a tranquil haven tucked into the heart of the rural expanse, where the air carried the fresh, earthy scent of rain-soaked ground blended with the faint sweetness of blooming wild grasses. The sky above was a tapestry of muted blues and golds, the early sun piercing through the thinning mist to illuminate the glistening rice paddies, their surfaces alive with shallow pools reflecting the awakening world. With a weathered wicker basket cradled against her side, its edges softened by years of use, Tieu Diep stepped into the muddy fields, her sandals slipping slightly as she navigated toward the waterlogged edges. The cool water lapped at her shins as she waded in, her fingers probing the silted depths to uncover the hidden gems. Tiny, glossy snails and the sturdy shells of freshwater clams. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this video. I've heard this area is full of snails and clams, so I'm out here to gather some for the market today, she said, her voice bright with enthusiasm as she pictured her viewers joining her adventure. Her hand grazed a smooth shell, and she smiled widely. Anyone else find these around their place? They're amazing in soups or roasted. Wishing you all a great day, stay healthy, she added, her words a warm thread linking her to the world beyond. The hours ticked by, the sun rising higher, its golden rays filtering through the dissipating fog to warm her skin, while the cool water soothed her tired feet. Tieu Diep's hands danced with skill, scooping up handfuls of snails and clams, her basket steadily filling with the morning's bounty, the shells clinking softly with each movement. The field hummed with activity, the melodic trill of birds perched in the nearby trees, the gentle splash of a fish breaking the surface, and the distant clang of a farmer's tool against stone. Sweat beaded on her forehead, tracing paths through the mud streaked across her cheeks, but she persevered, her shoulders aching yet propelled by purpose. So many clams here, plenty to organize later, she muttered to herself, pausing to stretch her cramped muscles. Her gaze drifted to a nearby hut, its thatched roof sagging under the weight of time, where an elderly woman sat weaving a basket, her eyes tracking Tieu Diep's progress. "Ba, are you out here alone?" Tieu Diep called, her voice rising over the water's soft murmur. The woman nodded, her smile gentle and weathered. "Just me, Chow. Keep at it, don't mind me."
Tu Diep loged litli.
"All right, Ba. I'll stay on task." But as she sifted through her catch, a sharp, unpleasant odor assaulted her. "Ugh, this one's rotten. Almost missed it," she exclaimed, tossing the offending clam aside with a grimace, her determination only growing stronger. By mid-morning, her basket overflowed with a radiant collection of snails and clams, their shells glistening like dewdrops in the sunlight, a badge of her relentless effort. She dragged it to the field's edge, her arms trembling under the burden, the basket's weight pressing into her palms, and took a moment to breathe, the cool breeze of fleeting relief. With a determined glance at the distant market, she set off, the path winding past flooded fields where farmers waited with nets, past homes with smoke rising from clay ovens, and past a wooden bridge swaying in the wind. The scene echoed the vivid images she'd seen. Villagers trading under tarps, children splashing in puddles, igniting a quiet pride in her soul. At the market, she claimed a spot near a stall piled with lychees, the air sweet with their fragrance. She spread her mat, arranging her catch with precision, the shells drawing curious stares. "Fresh snails and clams picked this morning," she announced, her voice slicing through the market's lively buzz. A nearby vendor gave an approving tilt of the head, and soon a crowd gathered, their hands reaching for her goods. An elderly woman sampled a snail, her face brightening. "So fresh, give me a kilo," she said, passing over a handful of coins. A young man with a bicycle followed, his basket empty. "I'll take 2 kilos, he added, adding to Diep's growing wealth. In less than 2 hours, her basket was nearly bare, the clink of money in her pocket a joyful chime. With a grateful nod to her buyers, she packed up, her spirit lifted despite the muddy trek back, her thoughts drifting to a safer life with James. Back at her quaint camp, Diep washed the mud from her hands with a damp rag, the earthy smell lingering as she sank onto a sturdy bamboo stool. The afternoon light struggled through the rain-drenched window, casting fractured shadows across the room, and her phone vibrated with a call, breaking the calm. It was James, his voice a blend of relief and concern. "Diep, how did your morning go?" he asked, the faint roar of city traffic in the background. She leaned back, a tired grin on her face. "Just returned from gathering snails and clams in the fields. Sold everyone at the market. The villagers supported me fully. Nothing left." James chuckled softly, the stress in his tone fading. "No taste for me? Well, I've got an update. I've spoken with BAC, and after I finish work tonight, we'll head to his place together. It's safer for you with the current risks." Diep raised an eyebrow, her grip tightening on the phone. "Go right now." James' voice turned gentle, a steady anchor. "Not yet. Go home, change out of those damp clothes and pack a bag. I'll be done by 11 p.m. and come to get you. Sound good?" She let out a slow breath, nodding to herself. "That's fine. I'll be ready, James," she replied, the call ending with the rain's soft rhythm as her only sound. Elsewhere, James sat at a quiet table on the upper level of a small eatery, the rain pounding against the large windows, tracing erratic lines down the glass. The air was warm, infused with the rich scent of steamed buns and the sharp tang of ginger tea as he sipped from a cup, his mind restless. Papers cluttered the table, land titles, financial ledgers, and a rough sketch, evidence of the deals he was overseeing. The relentless weather mirrored his inner unease, and his phone rang again. "Where are you, Sue?" he asked, his tone sharp. "A bit delayed on 5 minutes max," Sue replied, his voice muffled by the storm. "Pick up the pace, I'm waiting," James urged, drumming his fingers on the table. When Sue arrived, his coat shedding water onto the floor, James slid a dossier across. "All set?" he inquired, eyes scanning the pages. Sue nodded, shaking off the damp. "Everything's ready, signed and verified." James leaned in, his expression resolute. "Perfect. I need the property deeds and receipts completed in a week. No delays." Sue gave a firm nod. "It's taken care of, Vaughn." James exhaled, leaning back. "I've already paid $300 million as a deposit. Today I'll transfer the remaining $1.7 billion to close it." He flashed a QR code on his phone. The transaction finalized with a quiet beep. "1 week, Sue, don't drop the ball," he added, his voice stern. Sue saluted with a smirk. "You're set." James shifted topics, his thoughts drifting ahead. "Found a designer for the house yet? I'm leaning toward a countryside style, but I haven't asked Diep if she prefers city life. Can you recommend someone?" Sue scribbled in a notebook. "I'll find some skilled options." James rubbed his chin, calculating. "I'm budgeting $2 billion, could hit 3.2 if we expand, but let's target 2.5. The land we bought, permits all sorted."
"Sure, not that."
"Fully cleared." James mused. "I heard the price jumped. Any sense of the new value?"
"Sure, suit."
"Could be double, but it's a steal." James offered a tired smile. "Thanks for the find, Sue, smart move. I'm heading out." As he packed up, his phone buzzed, his mother. "James, are you taking Diep to BACs?" "I'd like to join," she said, her voice edged with worry. "Sure, Ma, I'm coming to get you," he replied, grabbing his umbrella. At home, he called from the gate. "Ma, come down. Give me a moment." He helped her into the car, the rain hammering the roof. She asked, "How far is Diep's place?" James turned the ignition. "About 10 kilometers, isolated and secure." Back was a tough figure back then. No one bothers him. His mother frowned. "If it's dangerous, she could stay with us." James paused. "She's private, unmarried, it might cause talk." His mother nodded. "Fair enough." She added, "I want to see her place, I'm concerned." James gripped the wheel. "She'll stay with BC for now. I'll handle Dao with a military contact." Fast and firm. His mother squeezed his arm. "Help her, son, ease my mind." James agreed. "I'll pick her up first, Then we'll go to BAC's. Wait at the camp, Ma. I'll help Diep pack. The rain grew fiercer, the wipers fighting the deluge as they drove into the storm's core. At the camp, Diep packed a small satchel, her hands steady as she folded a linen shirt and a knitted scarf, the rain's persistent drumming on the roof a steady pulse. The night air was cool and damp, a stark contrast to the warm scenes in the photos she'd noticed. Families sharing stories by lamplight, children playing with kites. Her heart clung to James' promise, a light in the uncertainty, while far off, a shadowy figure paced a cluttered garage, his face tight with frustration. This man, perhaps Tung's foe or a new threat, loomed over a table strewn with maps, his voice a harsh rasp as he confronted a subordinate. "What's the update on Tung? I need something concrete," he demanded, pressing a hand to his temple. The man shifted, his posture rigid. "We've trailed him for days, but no solid leads, nothing to use." The boss slammed a fist on the table, the sound echoing. "Dig deeper, send more people. I want results." The subordinate nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. Yesterday we saw 2 officers at his place, brief chat. Seemed linked to his pomelo trade." The boss scoffed. "Trade? That's a flimsy story. Cops don't handle fruit deals. Keep watching." The subordinate hesitated. "The task you set failed. James and Diep are together again." Rage ignited in the boss's eyes. "Stay on Tung. I'll deal with them. Add more eyes for a few days. Don't let me down." The man rushed out, leaving the boss pacing, his plans fraying at the edges. Meanwhile, James, his mother, and 2 Diep reached Thin's house, the rain-soaked path illuminated by a lantern's weak glow. The air was heavy with the scent of wet bamboo and smoldering embers as James stepped forward, shaking Thin's rough hand. "I called earlier. Thanks for letting Diep stay a few days. She needs a safe refuge now," he said, his voice steady yet grateful. Tien, a stout man with a weathered visage, nodded with a warm smile. "Come in. Let's get you out of the wet." The interior was snug, the walls decorated with faded images of past harvests, and a table etched with years of use. James turned to Tien, his tone curious. "How's the flood impacting you, BAC?" Tien sighed, nodding toward the window where water swallowed the fields. "Ruined the rice, total devastation." James nodded grimly. "Same at my end. Diep will stay here a while. Hope it's not too much trouble." Then waved it off. "Quiet here. Stay as long as you like." James glanced at 2 Diep. "Back's my cousin. Chose this life to avoid the city's chaos." 2 Diep gave a respectful bow.
Chào bác. Chào bác gái.
"I'm Diep, sorry to intrude." Tien laughed heartily.
No intrusión. Chao.
James visited years back. Good to see him return. James' mother entered, and Tien tilted his head. "Who's this?"
Diep smiled softly.
James' mom. His dad met her overseas. Tien grinned. "So you're his partner?" James cleared his throat. Room ready for Diep BAC? Tien nodded. All set. Cleaned it out. Back guy, a slight woman with a gentle smile, waved them to the table. Let's eat, dinner's hot. Diep hesitated, her cheeks warming. I feel bad delaying your meal. She offered some cash, but BAC guy refused. You're here briefly, no need for that.
Diep précède.
Please keep it. Help me out while I'm here? Back guy tucked it away with a nod. Diep admired the airy kitchen, its brick oven glowing. Saw the roads washed out, parked outside. It's new though, better than the old dirt trail I knew. She glanced at the flooded fields. Can those crops be restored?
Bác gái sigh.
Too much mud lost for good. We're planting sweet potatoes and millet now. Tien added, less yield this season. During dinner, a young boy, Hai Dang, joined them, his eyes wide with interest. He's 7 in 2nd grade, BAC guy said. Diep asked, you both farm for a living? Tien nodded. That's right.
Diep smiled.
With me it's livelier for now.
Bác gái tì vết. Hải đăng nét mít to grau lai dêm. Diep chuckled.
He's a hungry one. The meal ended with Diep's thanks. So good, lucky to join.
Bác gái waver it up.
Happy you're here. Breaks the solitude. James turned to Diep. Stay a while, please. She nodded. Maybe I'll stay then go back. Be careful, James. Protect yourself. He sighed. Sorry you're dragged into this. She patted his hand. It's okay. Being with you makes it bearable. James' voice softened. You've been my strength through all, thank you.
Diep blushed.
I offer my heart. You loved me when I had nothing. James smiled. That's all I need. He added, many chase fame, but you stir my soul. I chose right.
Diep glowed. I'm honored.
James continued, I heard that friends fill good times, but few stay in storms. You've been my anchor, happy or hard. That's priceless. Diep's eyes shimmered. Thank you for loving me when I was empty. I give all I have. James nodded. Your heart is my peace. As midnight loomed, he stood. It's
Why
late.
she told me
Let's
about
thank Bissy and
Phyllis,
go.
a
I'll
spouse
visit tomorrow.
health
That guy called.
director
Drive
who
safe.
had lost her husband several months before. I invited Phyllis to have lunch with me the next day, and we quickly established some common ground. We were about 10 years apart in age, but she had also been with her husband for about 50 years. She talked of how they met and what their life had been like. And I could tell by her stories and the warmth of her tone of voice that she, too, had a happy marriage. Then it was my turn. And all I could do was cry as I told the story of my own